Hello and welcome back to the Petra Pan Apparel YouTube channel, and today it's something a little bit different, which I haven't really done much on this channel. This is actually going to be a making video. So I decided that I absolutely needed to have this vest for my birthday. It's based on a garment that I had seen on Etsy. The thing I really loved about it was these arrow motifs here, and so of course I decided the day before my birthday that I had to pattern and sew this up for myself. I learned a lot while doing it. I made it out of some thrifted bed sheets, which worked quite well. So here's a little look at how that process went. Hello and welcome to my terribly lit, very glamorous garage. This is where my workspace is. So for the project, for the little birthday outfit project, I have a sketch here. So this is the waistcoat. So in the waistcoat, for the arrows there, I'm thinking to use a contrasting fabric, a white or a different shade of blue maybe. So that is the plan. I have two fabric options. I'm going to be making this either out of this linen, I think it's a linen cotton blend. It's a nice kind of dusky blue. In this light it looks gray. Other option is this set of sheets that I have recently acquired. It's a king sheet, fitted sheet, flat sheet, and pillowcases that I got for $15 Australian, and that is a pretty good deal. And it is really nice. It has a little bit of a sheen to it, and the benefit of this is I think I could use this as a lining as well, because it does have a little bit of slip to it. So I think it could work as a lining, and then I would put as a interfacing, I would use probably muslin, because that's what I have. I don't know what else to use or have anything else to use, so it'll be one of those two. So basically, to pattern draft this, oh, I'll go get my box. Returned, blocks, and tea. I'm no longer complaining about how hot it is here, because it is finally starting to be autumn now. Oh, so nice. So I will be drafting this using my bodice blocks, but you'll notice the lines on this. This is what's called a contour block. So basically all these colored lines represent hollows in the body. So for example, if you have a t-shirt or any kind of shirt and you want to cut a lower neckline, if you were to just cut it, you'd have gaping there because we have kind of a hollow across our chest here. So basically this pattern tells me how much I need to take out if I want something to fit closely to the body, which for the waistcoat I do. So I have these two blocks, and this is what I'm going to be using. I want to have, so the waistcoat will be shaped with a dart at the shoulder, and then I think two waist darts, because a lot of the examples that I found are shaped with those two waist darts, and I think that's really flattering. At the moment I'm planning for 3 buttons, so I'm going to start drafting some of this. I will move the camera so you can see a little bit of that, and then that's probably all I will get done today, and then tomorrow hopefully I can actually start making the thing. Good morning, it's another day, it's Friday, and I realized that I made some very silly mistakes. So I thought I would make this with my bodice block, and that I would want it to go about to the waist, which is about here, and then I drafted the pattern and realized this is much shorter than I actually want it to be. I want it to go several centimeters down lower, so what I'm going to do is, instead of using my bodice block, I have a torso contouring block, which is basically a dress block cut to about the hip with all the contouring marks. So that's what I'm going to use instead, and that way I can go a bit down below the hip, or down below the waist, and make it a little bit longer. So I'm going to get started on that, and see what we get. So, I just finished the front piece, and I thought I'd just show you quickly what I did. So, I started with this block, which I kept these two darts the same. They're just like this on my contouring block. There was a dart here that I closed and then opened up here on the shoulder. And then, of course, on the center front, I had to add an extra little placket for the buttons. And I have the buttons here, which I measured. And then cut a neckline, often with V-neck lines. They look straight, but they are actually a little bit curved. And then I dropped the armhole down just a little bit. So I'm going to close up the darts and hold it up and see what I think. So center front is here. Oh yes, I am much happier with that length, and just like I did on the last pattern, totally forgot to do the little pointed end, so I'm going to add that on, and then I'll start on the back. Watch this, I'm very proud of this. I set this up the other day. So as you can see, the back of my pattern is much less complicated. It basically just has the normal darts, but the contour lines are extended up to about halfway through the arm. So if you want something to fit closely, you have to kind of take in a little bit more from the pattern. Now I am going to try to make the shoulder dart on my front line up with the shoulder dart on my back. So I'm just going to measure from the outside of the armhole and make sure those line up. Okie dokie, so the pattern pieces are both cut out. I didn't really make very many changes to the back. I just made sure that the darts at the sleeve line up, or at the shoulder line up, and then I took in the armhole a little bit. So that's the fun part. That's the fun part for me. So now I'm going to cut them out. So I'm going to cut out two pieces, one for the outside, one for the lining, and then I'm going to cut out some muslin without seam allowance to be my interfacing for the front. I'm not going to sew a mock-up because I decided I'm going to show that. I'm going to sew this out of my sheets, my sheet fabric, which was pretty cheap to get. So this is basically going to be a wearable mock-up. Hopefully wearable enough for me to wear out tomorrow on my birthday. So here we go. I think I'm going to cut the waistcoat out of the pillowcases because they are, because I think they'll be big enough for these waistcoat pieces. And they've been freshly cleaned, so they smell quite nice. So I'm going to go iron these, and then I think I'll cut out the muslin first, and then I'm not going to add seam allowance to that pattern because I'm going to just add it onto the fabric because the pieces are small, so I'll just trace it on to the fabric. I don't think I even have any tailor's chalk because I usually sew with knit fabric, a lot of spandex fabrics. Rubbish man is here. So as I was saying, because I usually sew with a lot of spandex, tailor's chalk and most marking pins do not work on spandex. So I found the best thing and the only thing that will work is actually just blackboard chalk, like craft chalk or kids chalk. So that's probably what I will use. So I'm gonna go get to ironing. I'm gonna cut them up because I'm too lazy to seam rip them, so I'm just gonna cut up along the seams. My sewing teacher taught me that if you have a V neckline, especially if it's a low neckline, in order to avoid, if you cut it like this on the straight grain, your neckline is going to be on the bias and it might stretch. So she said it's a great idea to line up the grain line actually with your neckline, and I think she tends to do this with smaller pieces, so I'm just going to try it with this whole piece. And see what happens. So it's going to put my side seam on the bias, but I'm going to cut the back on the straight grain. So I'm going to see what happens. Okay, so I have gone and pinned all the darts on all my various pieces, except for the outside front pieces, because I want to make sure I keep them separate, because I ended up having to cut one of the lining front pieces slightly off grain in order to have enough fabric from the pillowcases. So I'm going to start sewing some darts and be sewing darts for a while. So, I made a mistake. I had two inspiration photos for this vest. One of them, it's okay, someone's outside. Must protect. So one of the photos was a kind of short sleeve jacket which had princess seams, and then the other inspiration was just a 1940s waistcoat pattern which used darts. And I had decided before making this that I wanted to make it with princess seams, and you just watched me pattern the whole thing with a whole heckin' lot of darts. I prefer a princess seam. So I'm making myself a cup of coffee now. I'm gonna have to repattern and recut and resew the whole thing. So I will check back in once I have got back to the point where I was before. Wish me luck. It's now 2:45 in the afternoon. So restarting the whole thing. Duke gets it. He understands. Right, buddy? Yeah, I know. It's really bad. So cute. Now I'm stuck here. I can't move ever again. So I'm back at the ironing board, and I'm just going to show you. Fortunately, I'm able to salvage a little bit. So I have my front pieces that I had not sewn darts into yet. So basically I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put the outside portion, so that's my new princess seam. All I had to do was connect the end of that dart to the end of that dart, and then cut it and round it off a little bit. So I'm keeping this one in because that has the dart there, so that way I'm just going to trace the seam allowance and cut that part off so that I don't have to retrace that dart on. And then I will cut the other piece out of some other fabric. Fortunately, I have plenty of this fabric, and I'm really glad I ended up doing this on the sheets. So I will have to retrace a couple of things, but not too much. I'm going to try to unpick the ones I've already done and do the same thing with them. So hopefully not too much has been lost. Okay, so crisis averted. I've cut out the new pieces. So here I have 4 pieces of my outside front, 2 for lining, 2 for the outside. I've got 4 pieces of the center, and then I have my interfacing pieces cut out. So now I'm going to pin them together, sew them up. As you can tell, I'm starting to lose my daylight, so I'm going to get through it as quickly as possible and show you anything interesting as it comes along. And there's a grumbly boy here, wants to go outside. Hey Duke, what you want? You want this? You want this? Yeah? What's up, bud? Oh, look at that good boy set. Says it's dinner time. It's not dinner time, it's 4:30. Okay, so now I have all my front pieces stitched together like this. And so now I'm basically going to sandwich these with the inner facing. And then the lining layer on top. And then I'm going to, no I'm not. So I'm going to sandwich these with the outside layer, the lining layer, and then the inner facing. And then I'm going to stitch those and flip them out, and then I'll have my two front pieces. I think I might go ahead and baste the inner facing to the lining layers, just with some big stitches that I'll rip out afterwards just to keep everything in place. So now that these are all stitched, I'm going to sew the front and the backs together, or the outside and the lining together. Hey guys, I finished it. I got really tired because it got really late in the day and I kind of stopped recording, but I'm gonna go through it all with you and just talk about how I finished it, about what I did. Alright, so here's the finished product. I am really happy with the way it turned out. I had to make a lot of changes though. So I basically sewed everything up and then tried it on and it was too small, but fortunately I had all that space with the button plackets, so I was able to kind of play around. So basically I tucked down the corners, and on this one I did fold it over, but I was measuring it, so there's a raw edge here, but I didn't finish off the edge because I didn't know how much of it I was going to have to use. Other than that, the back is only one layer, and so to finish off the edges of the back, I did basically a narrow roll hem. I trimmed a little bit and then folded it over once, sewed it down, folded it over again, sewed it down again, and it's not perfect, but it worked. And then for the appliques, what I did was I sewed two pieces of fabric together in a long rectangle, and then I cut it up and basically ironed it down into that point shape. And then I did, like, I don't know what you call it, where you catch a little bit of the fabric and then you go in and out of the applique. So the stitches are basically invisible, and I'm really, really happy about that. Basically, one other thing I didn't get to finish showing you on video was I was sewing up the side seams. So basically what I did was I sewed the back piece together with the outside piece, and then I folded over the little lining, and then I just whip stitched that closed. It turned out really well. I really love the way it looks on, and it does fit quite well. Sorry, the lighting's not that great because it's kind of late, but I'll show you. So there are a couple of little drag lines just at the bust on the side, just right here. So that's the only fit issue I'm really having. So I have my pattern making class tomorrow, so I'm actually going to take it to class and see if I can find out exactly why. I think that's because I didn't take anything out of the armhole. I think that needed to get closed up a little bit, and that will solve that that fit problem. But I am overall very happy with it. Love it. It was a very nice birthday present to myself. I love how it fits in the back. I have a sway back, so things often are gapey here, so this fits perfectly. I added in a second dart, and I am pleased as punch. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video and kind of following along the process. I love to watch people making things, so I thought I would put this out into the world. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and tune in next time to the Petra Pan Apparel YouTube channel, and we'll see you then. Bye!